Everyone saw Verstappen win, but no one saw the precision, the pressure, and the perfection behind that victory. This wasn't just another win. It was the weekend Red Bull resurrected its dominance, and Verstappen reminded everyone why he's the best in the world. Under the brutal Texas heat, with rivals collapsing and critics watching, Verstappen didn't just lead, he executed. Here's what you didn't see: the setup, the chaos, the calculation, and how Max Verstappen turned Austin into a masterclass in control. Coming into the weekend, the story seemed already written. Oscar Piastri was 63 points ahead in the championship. McLaren had the momentum, the speed, and the confidence. Red Bull, by contrast, looked vulnerable. The RB21 had flashes of brilliance, but its balance was inconsistent, its rear unpredictable, its potential trapped behind an invisible wall of uncertainty. Even Verstappen, the man who had once made domination look effortless, seemed restrained, a lion pacing in a too small cage. Austin, though, has a way of bringing out something primal in him. It's a place he understands: high-speed rhythm, heavy braking zones, the constant demand for precision. It's not a circuit for courage. It's a circuit for clarity. From the moment he left the garage on Friday morning, something was different. One lap, that's all it took. You could see it in the body language of the car. The RB21 didn't snap, didn't protest, didn't fight him. The rear stayed planted, the front bit perfectly, and Verstappen's inputs became impossibly smooth. The telemetry later showed it: micro adjustments on throttle and steering, no spikes, no hesitations. When the radio crackled and his voice came through, it was calm, almost satisfied. "The rear feels planted," he said. For Max Verstappen, that phrase is a warning. It means the balance is there. The trust is there. The storm is coming. Sprint qualifying proved it. Red Bull hadn't just found stability, they'd found their identity again. The new floor, the modified rear wing, the low rake setup, all of it clicked. But machinery alone doesn't explain what happened next. In SQ3, Verstappen only had one lap. One chance. Traffic had destroyed his first attempt. The track was evolving quickly, grip changing corner by corner, wind gusting down the back straight. One mistake and he'd start in the midfield. But that's when he's most dangerous. That's when calculation takes over. He waited until the perfect second to start his lap, timed the tire warm-up to the degree, and delivered a 1 minute and 32.143 seconds that seemed to defy physics. It wasn't flamboyant. It wasn't wild. It was clean, too clean. That's the thing about Verstappen at his best. His laps don't look spectacular because they're flawless. There's no visible effort, just inevitability. Saturday's sprint race was chaos everywhere but in car number 1. Behind him, McLaren imploded. Norris and Piastri collided into turn 1, ending both of their chances before the race had truly begun. Alonso got caught in the wreckage, debris scattered across the track, and the safety car neutralized the field. But even in those moments, Verstappen's calm was absolute. "Tires are fine," he said over the radio. "Rear temp's okay." While others fought to keep heat in the tires, he was already strategizing the restart. When the green flag waved, he nailed it with surgical timing: no wheel spin, no hesitation, a perfect launch. By the time Russell tried to attack into turn 12, Verstappen was gone. 10 laps later, the checkered flag waved, and he'd won again. But he didn't celebrate. He didn't shout. He just said quietly, "Good job, guys. The rear could be better. Let's fix that for tomorrow." That's how champions think. Friday mornings in Austin are deceptive. They look calm, clear skies, long shadows across the paddock, but beneath that stillness, the tension is electric. Red Bull arrived at the Circuit of the Americas knowing the weekend had to be perfect. The championship wasn't over yet, but it was slipping away. The RB21 had lost its edge in recent races, its aerodynamic window narrow, its balance unpredictable. Engineers had theories, Verstappen had questions. The single hour of free practice on a sprint weekend isn't much, it's a race against time. But in that hour, something extraordinary happened. From the very first lap, Verstappen felt it. The car was alive again. The upgrades, a new floor, refined rear wing, modified diffuser had transformed the car's behavior. Where once it had twitched and slid, now it stayed planted. "The rear feels planted," he said over the radio, his tone calm but sure. For anyone else, that would sound like a simple observation. For Red Bull, it was a turning point. Those 4 words meant he could trust the car again. They meant he could push, brake later, and dance on the edge of grip without fear. When Verstappen trusts his car, the rest of the grid is already in trouble. That single comment sent the garage into motion. Engineers crowded around monitors, analyzing every microsecond of telemetry. The numbers matched the feeling: tire temperatures balanced, suspension load linear, aero stability restored. But what no data could capture was the connection forming between driver and machine. Verstappen's feedback wasn't about sensations, it was about patterns. Under braking into turn 11, it bites more on the right rear. That's crosswind. We can stabilize it with rear brake migration. He wasn't just describing the problem, he was prescribing the fix. That's why Red Bull trusts him completely. He's not only their driver, he's their compass. Then came sprint qualifying, and with it, proof. 3 short sessions, no room for error, no time to reset. In SQ1 and SQ2, Verstappen went fastest easily. But in SQ3, the pressure hit. He only had 1 lap. His first run had been ruined by traffic. The track was evolving rapidly, grip levels changing corner to corner. There would be no second chance. He lined up his car on the start line, waited for space, and unleashed something clinical. Every corner was a masterclass in precision: late braking into turn 1, perfect throttle through the fast S's, and a perfectly balanced drift through the long turn 18 that carried speed without costing tire wear. When the timing screen lit up purple, it wasn't surprise, it was confirmation. 1 minute and 32.143 seconds pole for the sprint. Just 71 thousandths ahead of Lando Norris, but faster everywhere. Not a single sector stolen, every corner clean, every apex brushed, never overdriven. Rival engineers said afterward it looked too easy, but that's what makes Verstappen exceptional. The perfection hides the effort. The lap doesn't look fast because it's built from logic, not chaos. He doesn't take risks. He takes control. After the session, he climbed out of the car and leaned against the pit wall, helmet off, visor still up, listening as Gianpiero Lambiase read him the deltas. He nodded once, then simply said, "Let's work on traction out of turn 11." He wasn't celebrating pole, he was already improving it. That's the mentality that defines him. For Verstappen, success is never the goal, it's the baseline. He doesn't chase glory, he builds systems that make glory inevitable. That night, Red Bull's garage buzzed with quiet confidence. The mechanics fine-tuned every millimeter of the rear wing flap angle. Engineers adjusted damper stiffness by half a click, balancing rotation with stability. And through it all, Verstappen stayed in the garage, watching. He didn't demand changes, he collaborated. He knows how to speak the language of the car. Every setting, every adjustment, every line in the telemetry, he reads it like a story. The start was pure execution. No drama, no wheel spin, no hesitation. The Red Bull RB21 gripped perfectly, the traction system synchronized with his throttle control, launching him into turn 1 exactly where he needed to be: ahead, clean, untouchable. Behind him, chaos erupted. Piastri and Norris tangled, 2 McLarens colliding in a flash of carbon fiber and desperation. Sparks flew, Alonso got caught in the aftermath, and debris scattered across the track. But Verstappen was already gone. He didn't flinch, didn't even lift. It was as if he had seen the chaos before it happened. That's the secret to his starts: not just reaction, but prediction. He doesn't respond to danger, he avoids it before it exists. The safety car came out immediately, neutralizing the race before the end of the first lap. But inside Verstappen's cockpit, there was no panic, no wasted words. "Tires are good. Keep them warm," he said over the radio. Calm, analytical, already thinking about the restart. The field bunched up behind him, heat pouring off the engines, but Verstappen was in control of the rhythm. He used every corner to test grip, to feel where the rubber was laying down, adjusting his brake bias by single clicks to stabilize the rear tires for when the race resumed. It's in moments like these that his mastery becomes visible when nothing is happening, but he's already winning. When the safety car peeled away, the world watched what has now become a Verstappen trademark, the perfect restart. Timing it down to fractions of a second, he slowed the pack, flicked on the throttle mid-corner, and exploded out of turn 20 before anyone could react. George Russell tried to anticipate, but Verstappen's control was flawless. By the time they crossed the line, he already had nearly a second in hand. It wasn't luck, it was precision born of instinct. "Great restart," Lambiase said over the radio. The reply came back short, steady, copy. Nothing more. No excitement, no release. Just focus. The following laps were not about raw speed, they were about rhythm. Verstappen managed the sprint as if he were driving a full Grand Prix compressed into 10 laps. He monitored his tire temperatures through every corner, knowing exactly how much energy to put into the fronts without overheating the rears. He lifted 20 meters early into turn 12, saving the soft compounds for the end, then countered with aggressive traction out of turn 15 to rebuild the gap. Every lap was a balance between control and pace, between dominance and restraint. Behind him, Russell pushed hard, trying to close within DRS range, but Verstappen's pace fluctuated with purpose. He wasn't defending, he was dictating. When a brief virtual safety car appeared on lap 6 for debris cleanup, Verstappen turned a neutral moment into advantage. He cooled the rear tires, reset brake temperatures, harvested energy through the MGUK, and prepared for another push. When racing resumed, he unleashed a lap that would have looked impossible on the telemetry: perfect apex speeds, perfectly balanced throttle curves, zero wasted traction. The gap stretched again, the race settled. From the outside, it looked simple. But that's what makes him special, he turns complexity into calm. By the final lap, the crowd could sense it. The roar as Verstappen crossed the line was part admiration, part awe. He'd just turned a 10-lap dash into a demonstration of intelligence. The timing screen showed a margin of just 0.3 over Russell, but that number didn't tell the story. He had controlled every variable. He could have gone faster, but he didn't need to. That restraint, that discipline, is what makes him unstoppable.